Welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Talk Show. I'm your host, Simon Giannini, and this week's topic is one that has, always gotten questions and inquiries. So I thought I'd bring in, a verified expert to give us, the inside scoop on what's going on in Florida. Is this the right time to buy? What should I buy? And, being Canadians, we're always very conservative and a little chicken, maybe a little cheap, which is okay. We can actually get there's some great opportunities and ones that are really turnkey, but it helps to have the right people. So joining me on the call is David Bedrosian. Now, David is a man of the world. He's a Canadian, but he's actually in Florida. He speaks several languages. So, David, welcome to the call.
Hey, Simon. Thanks for having me here.
So, he looks like a young guy that should be carded at the nightclubs, but he's actually, how many years in the business now, David?
About 5 years in the business.
Fantastic. So, a lot's going on, a lot of changes, obviously, in the Florida market, and certainly a lot of Canadians. We'll talk about some actual stats. But let's first start off by, talking about the fact that it's always in the news. The housing market in the U.S. seems to be one that, even if we're Canadians, we're watching because the feeling is that they'll actually impact the Canadian market. We've seen two different things and two different markets happen consistently. So they really are two distinct markets. However, what we're seeing is pricing way below replacement cost. We're seeing, Canadian U.S. dollar pretty much at par now. What is it? I think 97 cents as we speak. Interest rates are still at all-time low. So there's a lot of interest and certainly a lot of reasons to invest in the U.S. today. But let's talk about what's actually going on. So, what's going on with foreclosures and all of this stuff? What's happening on the street that you can share with our listeners?
Well, we have a lot of changes in our markets, and what you commonly hear when you speak to most people here. I think in Canada you get a representation of what I'd like to call a broad stroke of what's happening in the United States. And when you look at very specific markets, such as the Florida market, even within our market, you have many different dynamics going on. I mean, Miami is leading the herd here with one of the most dynamic, most booming markets in all of the United States, with the most exciting growth in the area. Actually, I was looking at a building in South Beach, and the building is going for $2,000 a square foot. I mean, market rates went from about $250 a square foot when the market crashed to well over $450 on average in the downtown area. And you're seeing recovery in many other parts of Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, to name a few. And it's showing some really positive signs. Foreclosures are basically diminishing, our inventory is decreasing, and you have a number of hedge funds in the area that are just scooping up hundreds and thousands of properties at a time and buying them directly from the bank.
So, there's an old thing that says follow the smart money. So if the big institutional investors are investing in an area, then certainly, you'd be wise to walk in and follow what they're doing. And, here's the thing, though. Some might argue, and it's kind of ironic for me, because when the market's dropping, people want to wait, and then when it comes up, when it finally bottoms out and starts coming up, some people say, hey, it's too late. But I don't believe it's too late. But let's talk about what some real actual stats. People talk about foreclosures and short sales. I've got some photos here, some samples you sent me of what some of the foreclosures and I don't know what else you call them other than really butt-ugly properties. Is this what you're recommending we buy?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I think a lot of people come to us on a regular basis asking us, I'm looking for a property that's $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and what should I do to attain a property like that? And we constantly tell them on a regular basis that it's very difficult to find. I mean, I think what you see right there is what is listed at that price point in the market, and the reality.
So basically, it's a teardown.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, we always get these stories. My friend saw a listing for a house for $29,000 in Florida, and the reality is that was really never a good buy. You're talking about land value, I guess, in most cases. But we'll talk about some actual real dollars. But here's some interesting stats. Number one, first of all, the distribution of international clients buying in Florida, and overwhelmingly Canadians are the biggest percentage of people buying in Florida, and we've got them here at 39%. And even when we compare to buyers from other states in the U.S. buying in Florida, we're still the overwhelming lead here. So Canadians are I like to call it, doing the great Canadian takeover. So
absolutely. I completely agree with you. Actually, our numbers have dropped from about 43% down to about 39% that you see over here. And I think the major reason for that is because you're getting an increasing number of Brazilians that are coming into the market and buying up more of the higher end inventory than what the Canadians would rather look at.
Brazilian, interesting.
Yeah. Brazilians, Venezuelans, Colombians are some of the largest international groups coming from South America that are really scooping up a lot of the inventory in our market here.
And certainly they're comfortable with the climate. They're comfortable with the fact that the Latin culture and language is firmly established in Central Florida and Central and certainly Southern Florida. So let's rifle through some numbers. And what I see here, because you sent me some stats, and I want to share some of these visuals with our listeners, is here is some charts showing inventory on the market, and we're seeing some patterns there. Here's East Palm Beach, going from 2005, 3,800 listings on the market to 352 as of earlier this year. Greater Fort Lauderdale, how can it be sold out? This is new inventory for builders?
Well, the thing is, in terms of all the developer inventory that was on the market, there's very little inventory left. All of the Canadians that came in and scooped up all of the properties in areas such as the Fort Myers and the Fort Lauderdales were some of the first to come into that market and really buy up a lot of that developer inventory that was existing there. All you are seeing now is all these high-rises that are coming up, these new cranes that are in the sky. It's this kind of development and construction that we haven't seen in the last 6 years. As a result of that, you're actually getting more and more properties that are being sold as pre-construction now than existing inventory that was available 18 months to 24 months ago.
So people are waiting for the bottom to hit. The bottom has hit and has bounced back up, and we're seeing days on market go from 180 to 35 days, in 112 to 55 days in all of these markets. And when we start talking about 30 days on market, now we're talking about conditions that are similar to the Toronto market. So, there's an old saying that says, you do definitely want to buy when the market is up, but the numbers are all there, and we're seeing some patterns now. What's this information? How can we look at values here in downtown Miami as an example?
Well, the one thing that you can see here is, for example, when you look at the trend on why the pricing goes up, you can see that there's a number of development that's coming into the area. $10 billion is actually an old slide that represents all the previous development. There's probably an additional $5 billion development that is slated to be developed into that downtown core that's driving all of the prices up. And I think the people that have taken advantage of these buys have realized the potential of what's going on here and have decided to lead the trend and take advantage of such a hot market. You have the potential casino coming in the old Miami Herald building. Of course, you have the Heat building right down there, the access to South Beach, and the new Marlins Stadium that you can see in the background over there. So there's a number of great things that are happening in this market that's causing these prices to go up astronomically.
Okay. Well, certainly, I think most people are aware you can look at condos as a potential investment or as a potential property to buy for your own use. But there's also a lot of different property types, and I want to spend a little bit of time. I know we don't have a lot of time, David, but let's just walk through. So here's Casa Costa, and where is this exactly for those that don't know Florida?
Perfect. So it's a great question. Many Canadians have always asked us for a property that's on the water. So it's facing the Intercoastal Waterway. You have the Atlantic Ocean. It's about 15 minutes south of West Palm Beach, just north of Boca Raton, right there in the Golden Coast. So, it's about 30 minutes to Fort Lauderdale, just under 50 minutes to Miami Beach. So within an hour, you can cover all of the really lovely cities that the East Coast, the Gold Coast has to offer here, and you're right in the heart of it all. It's sitting right in front of the water.
Well, I see palm trees and pools, so I'm happy, and this is facing water everywhere. So again, I'm ditto happy. And here's some interior shots for our viewers just to kind of get an idea. These are not dilapidated old condos. These are new high-end finishes, granite counters, stainless steel, and here's sort of a map look right on the coastal. So when we talk about numbers, obviously a great location. What are we talking about for condos like this on the water here?
Well, the thing is, the prices here start from about $150,000 to $160,000 all the way up to about $700,000, and you can obviously take a pick based on the configuration of the condo you'd like to be in. The properties are still below replacement value. It's a great property on the water. There isn't the land space nor the ability to be able to construct this property at the price that you're actually buying it at. You have a great influx of people moving into the area because it's a great property on the water, which is, as we can see, obviously decreasing the vacancy rates in the area. and it's a more affordable place than some of the neighboring cities, the West Palm Beaches,
So
the East Palm
obviously,
Beaches.
a great option, this type of property, and there's many others like it, I'm sure, in the area, but a great
Absolutely.
option for people looking for something for their own use.
Absolutely.
And we're talking under $200,000 to get in. And then we also have a shrinking vacancy rate, so 96% occupancy as of 2012, and I'm sure even growing. So if you're looking for income, you're saying this is a safe investment as well.
Absolutely. Definitely
Okay.
something to consider if you're looking for something right on the water.
Mm-hmm. All right, and now Orlando is also an opportunity. We're going to go through these fairly quickly just to make sure we stay on track here. Obviously, almost everybody knows Orlando. They know it as the destination for Disney World and all of that other stuff, but a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of corporate headquarters as well, so there's a lot of local people that have demand for housing, and we're seeing a similar pattern here. Inventory is down from 16,000 units down to less than 8,000 units in terms of real estate market inventory, so solid. Now here's what I would consider maybe, I guess, an entry-level low-rise condo. We might call it a townhouse complex or a low-rise condo, but this is located where? This is looks like in the heart of the Orlando area.
Yes, it's actually in one of the north suburbs of the greater Orlando area here. The great thing about what you had mentioned earlier is there's a great statistic about Orlando that a lot of people overlook. 51% of the population in Orlando rent, and the major reason for that is because Orlando by nature is a transient city. That's a really great thing to point out for a number of people that are looking for an investment, long-term investment, or a place to buy, forget about, have it rented out throughout the year. And this is a perfect example of almost 99% occupancy, and whatever vacancy is available here is because there's a influx of a tenant either moving out while another one comes in.
So this is sort of a great example of an entry level, anywhere from $100,000 to $130,000, and $130,000
Absolutely.
buys you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and then there's also some incentives. So we're looking at rent of $1,000. Here's the condo fees, the taxes. So basically, you've got a net income of $7,000 on a $100,000 investment.
And you have some great incentives, like we mentioned here: 2 years of property management, 2 years of rent as well covered by the developer.
Okay, and that's probably typical of some locations where the developer has excess inventory and they just want to move on and get to the next development, so there's an opportunity for investors.
Absolutely.
There's another example, Water's Edge at Lake Nona. So where is this exactly?
So Lake Nona is slated as the new medical city, home to the new VA hospital, Nemours Children's Hospital, and a number of other research facilities here. Now, a lot of people say they live at Lake Nona, but it's very there's very few people that actually have a residence on the lake. So this property is called Water's Edge, and it actually sits on the edge of the water as well too. The great thing about it is it's in a gated single-family community, and the offering here is actually at townhouses that start off at very, very, very attractive pricing as well too. If you want to park your boat, or there's a boat parking there, and you can dock and be in the water.
So this is a 2-story townhouse. It looks like 3-bedroom, 2-story townhouse. And how old is the townhouse?
Absolutely brand new. Actually, as a matter of fact, they're not even built yet. Many of the townhouses that are going to be coming onto the market will be complete by the end of the year. There's about 40 lots left, and basically once those are all taken up, that's it in Lake Nona at Water's Edge.
And pricing I see here from just over $200,000 to $234,000 for 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2.5, 3 baths, garage, and you said boat slips as well. You can walk to your boat slip.
Yep.
I like the sound of that, buddy.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And this is in the Orlando region as well, is it?
Absolutely.
Okay, and where's Watersong?
Okay, so Watersong is 12 minutes away from Walt Disney World, and this is a very interesting community. Coming up here to Canada over the last 4 years or so, we've had a number of Canadians that have always talked about a single-family house, a property in which that they can rent out for, let's say, 35, 36, 37 weeks out of the year, and then enjoy the rest of the time during the holidays or whenever the families want to come down and visit by themselves. It's a gated community. It has all of the amenities that you can imagine. There are 4, 5, and 6-bedroom houses, about 2,800, 3,000 square feet on average. Comes with a swimming pool, and you have some great incentives here as well too. So I mean, it's ideal for that Canadian that's either looking for a retirement property or a vacation property that they can take advantage of the rental while they are still not fully using it, and they can get a nice mixture of some rental income, and some personal use as well too.
So more of a luxury example with that looks like a private pool in the lanai, which is a new word I had to learn. We might call it a solarium. You guys call it a lanai in Florida. But basically it means it's an enclosed area with fencing to protect you from mosquitoes and so on. Is that about right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and your own private little pool, and yeah, it looks pretty nice. And you know, we start seeing these numbers, 2,000 square feet for 272,000. I know that is pretty much the construction cost of the house, if not less, without factoring in the land values and so on. So we know that there's nowhere to go but up with these prices. And again, some developer incentives, free personal swimming pool. It sounds funny to me, but that's what it is. So now let's talk a little bit about Daytona before we run out of time. Daytona is just east of Orlando on the East Coast, and I've been to Daytona. It is a beautiful spot. Certainly less expensive than Miami, but at the same time you can buy for less, but the rents aren't that much cheaper. So in essence, the returns are a little bit better than some other locations in Florida. Is that about right?
Yes, and the great thing here is you're getting a property that's right on the water. You have great views from every single unit in the building. The property could be used as, you know, long-term rentals if you want them on an annual basis, or you can actually rent this property out on a month-to-month basis. The nice thing is right across the water, in 2016 they're actually building the brand new Hard Rock Resort, which we're hoping is going to also be rigged with all of the wiring for a new casino to be introduced in the area, and hopefully when that happens, it's obviously going to revive this whole beach casino feel and resort area in the whole Daytona Beach. They're planning to actually add some new shopping facilities in the area, and the city is really trying to go through a brand new revival process to really introduce some great properties and some great attractions in the area.
We've got starting prices. You're talking about starting prices at just over $100 a foot, which sounds really bizarre relative to some of the Toronto numbers. And when you see these finishes, it looks like a real, you know, this is not a cheap condo. This is some fantastic finishes with incredible views and terraces, and prices starting at $112 a foot. So definitely interesting. What I like about this one on the Halifax is it's on the water, but you can also have short-term rentals as well as long-term rentals. And it's pretty well up to you to decide, correct?
Yes, and the perfect example here is the fact that Tower 3 and Tower 4 are going to be built as about 75% of all the units in the buildings are sold. And when the units are sold, the prices in which they will be starting to sell them at will probably be just over $250 a square foot. So you're definitely buying these properties at below replacement cost as well too, which is a really great incentive. There's a marina right behind the property, so you can also dock your boat here. Something that I think a lot of Canadians would generally like, a property on the water, close to the ocean, and something that they can leisurely take advantage of in terms of boating as well, and all of the other luxurious amenities that are available on the property as well too.
So I'm sensing a theme here that you know, developer incentives, 2 years of prepaid condo fees, and so on. So there is room to bargain if you know what you're dealing with, and I guess dealing with a guy like you helps in understanding where you can negotiate, where you can't. And,
I think the advantage here, Simon, is the fact that I am Canadian. I travel back and forth. I think after doing this for as long as we have, we completely understand the need of what a lot of Canadians want. And we're able to actually provide a number of services for them that allow them to feel like they're getting a turnkey investment or vacation property that they don't really have to worry about, whether it's property management or a number of other services that we're here to offer as well too.
Mm-hmm. I'm just rifling through some visuals of another property in Melbourne, which is just south of Daytona on the East Coast, and just showing, you know what, there's a lot of quality properties out there. Again, entry-level pricing, $129,000, but you got to know where to go. One of the challenges I found for myself and from what I heard from our clients is, you know, if you just hit Google, you really are not going to know it's just so overwhelming, all the information. What's good is you're on the ground, you know where the locations are, where the incentives are, where the guaranteed incomes are going to be. But let's cover, before we wrap up, let's cover some of the most common questions we get. Number one, you know, what is the property tax implication for Canadians purchasing Florida real estate? That's probably the number one question.
I think a lot of Canadians have this misconception that Americans pay less in taxes than Canadians do. The truth is, as a Canadian, because you can't own your primary residence over there, you pay the same amount of taxes as Americans do.
So if I live in New York or Canada, it doesn't matter, I'm paying the same thing. Look again. So what about?
As long as it's a second property, investment property, or vacation home.
Okay. And then what about the income tax implications? Am I paying income tax twice on this? Like, I'm going to be renting it out, so that's taxable income. How does
No,
that work?
you only pay taxes once. You pay your taxes in the U.S. and you're getting a credit here in Canada.
Okay. And then what about when I sell the property?
Well, essentially, you have to follow the laws of the country that you live in. So if you're living here in Canada, definitely talk to an accountant, figure out where your marginal income tax is, and follow the rules of the country that you live in.
So if I end up paying, like, I know I have to pay capital gains. If I buy a property for $200 and I sell it later for $400, I've got $100,000 taxable income. In essence, if I pay, let's say, $20,000 to the state of Florida, that's a credit towards what I would be paying here.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so there's an input tax credit. So very straightforward. And this is the kind of stuff that I know that you can explain in a lot more detail. So if somebody's listening to this and is ready to actually take action, what's the next step?
It's really simple. I mean, I think the best thing for you to do is get in contact with me. We can have a one-on-one discussion, take advantage of the time while I'm here in Toronto, or even catch me on the phone while I'm in the United States. We'll, if you're looking to get some financing, we'll try and figure out what you qualify for. I think the best thing for you to do is make an appointment to come down and visit the properties. I think once you come down, see it, touch it, get a feel for it, you can get a really good idea of what's really out there. And then once you get a better sense of that, you can definitely go ahead, pick the property that you might be interested in, and we're here to guide you from, our first meeting in Toronto. We'll have a representative either pick you up at the airport or at your hotel. We'll go take an extensive tour. If you're looking at multiple cities, we're there with you along the way. We'll help you pick the units that you want, and we'll help you throughout the whole process, whether it's getting the property closed, open up a bank account for you, set you up with some insurance, help you get an ITIN number, which is your International Tax Identification Number, all the way down to property management, maintenance, and if you want to sell the property a few years down the line, we're here to help you out as well too.
So from beginning to end. So there you have it. I've got David's contact information. That's a Toronto direct number. Is that the right number, David?
Absolutely.
And email at dawoodinc@gmail.com. And David, a lot of great information. Obviously, it opens up probably a lot of questions for people that are, those that are serious. I would suggest give David a call, fire him an email. And I know you're back and forth all the time because I see you every few weeks. And it's great to know that you're actually here so people can get the information and then schedule a follow-up meeting in Florida. David, some great information. We'll have to have you back and talk about this again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I really look forward to having all of your listeners come out and actually see what we really have to offer. I think once a lot of people actually come down to Florida, they get a really different sense of the reality of what is really out there in our market. We have a lot of great things, a lot of great properties to offer, and a lot of great destinations. There's a lot of value out there, guys, and let's take advantage of it while there's still a great opportunity. The opportunity went from a large sliding glass door down to the size of a porthole, and I hope that you can take advantage of it while the opportunity still exists.
It sounds great. Sounds like I may have to fly down there and have a beer and check out the properties with you as well.
I'd love to have you down.
Thanks again, and we'll talk soon. This is the Real Estate Talk Show with Simon Giannini and my guest, David Bedrosian, talking about Florida real estate. Again, if you have any questions, you want to contact David directly, here's his number, 647-770-7227, or email dawoodinc@gmail.com. And have an amazing day. We'll talk to you soon.